In New York, a 15-year-old is under arrest after allegedly shooting a tourist in a store in Times Square and firing at police. Here's Erin McLaughlin.
Tonight in New York City, a 15-year-old wanted for opening fire on police officers in a crowded Times Square and shooting a tourist in the leg with a .45 caliber handgun, now in police custody, according to law enforcement.
You guys need to listen. New York needs to listen.
Promise that the NYPD will always keep. If you think you could attack a member of this department, if you think you could threaten the lives of the very people who keep us safe, if you think you could put others at deadly risk and get away with it, then think again. We will never stop pursuing you. We will.
You mean like the migrants that beat up the cop and then left the state? And then they were caught because the people were angry about it. Is that what he's talking about?
Find you and we will arrest you. And then we will do everything in our power to bring you to justice. The shooting incident last night in Times Square was way beyond reckless. In the middle of the busiest, most highly trafficked part of this city, a criminal with a firearm decided to pull the trigger. He shot a store security guard who had stopped him for shoplifting, striking and injuring an innocent bystander. He shot the NYPD officers who pursued him through the streets of Midtown without a single thought of who he might hit or who he might kill. But just like we promised, less
should have never happened.
Then 24 hours later, he's locked up and off our streets. Considering where these shootings took place, it's an actual miracle that we're not having a very different conversation right now.
No, let's have the conversation. Let's have the conversation. That's where it's going.
But no matter what, the men and women of the NYPD will never accept violence. We will never abide lawlessness.
Tell that to the mayor.
And we will never
tell that to Brandon.
Cops. The shooter in this incident is no longer
tell that to Joe. Or tell that to Washington. I mean, the Democrats have been promoting defund the police for years. Is this guy not aware where he is right now?
Always, our cops will continue running toward the danger and putting themselves in between the threat and the threatened. That's our job.
Yeah, so the NYPD is proud that they caught these individuals within 24 hours. That's great. But let's have the real conversation. The Democrats have allowed this nightmare to continue. And it is truly unfortunate to say that this trend will get worse. So that's the commissioner, and I get he's passionate about the NYPD, and that's fine. But he's living in a democratic state, a sanctuary city, which only makes their job that difficult. He should be using that platform to criticize the sanctuary city policies that the Democrats have championed.
Together, we are doing the vital work in keeping our city safe. Again, that's the promise the NYPD makes every day to every New Yorker. And that's a promise we will always keep. I will now turn it over to Chief Jason Savino
for a brief recap of the initial incident, and that'll be followed by an investigative update. But before we even go further, I just want to reiterate some of the comments the boss made and just mention how proud we are with all involved. Again, in less than 24 hours, our teams removed a very, very violent subject that
That's
had
great.
zero reservations.
But again,
about
he should have never
and endangering our
happened.
great public. So just a quick recap. Last night at approximately 7 p.m. on the busy streets surrounding Times Square, inside a 1466 Broadway JD Sports Store, a loss prevention officer attempts to stop 3 subjects believed to be shoplifting a jacket. Now, that officer observes this, properly does her job, and engages the shoplifters, requests a receipt. When no receipt could be produced, that loss prevention officer takes possession of the merchandise. As the three subjects begin to turn, as if to exit the store, suddenly and without prompting, one of the subjects displays a firearm and discharges it right in the direction of the loss prevention officer. Now that bullet missed her, but ultimately, and so unfortunately, it strikes an unintended victim. Our shooting victim, a female, 38, a tourist from Brazil, simply waiting online to purchase a pair of sneakers. She ran and hid in the back of the store, realizing she was shot in her left knee. She was treated at Bellevue, where she ultimately was released for a non-threatening, life-threatening injury. The three subjects flee and encounter uniformed police officers on foot posts assigned to Times Square in close proximity. Officers gave chase and apprehend a non-shooter without incident. Now that officer's partner continues to pursue the shooter, and as the shooter turns and apparently fires at our uniformed officer, not once, but on two different occasions, the second time while running, shooting across his body behind himself, something so potentially dangerous. Our uniformed
Unbelievable.
officer was not struck,
Unbelievable.
so fortunately, and did not return fire. Why? Because that officer was well aware of the danger that firing that gun in a crowded, busy street could potentially inflict. Now, just take a moment to
Unbelievable.
just take all of this in and
Unbelievable.
consider that scene. 7 p.m., Times Square area, 42nd Street subway entrance. Hundreds of our city's members enjoying the evening. Really good buzz around the city. Our shooter, no regard for uniformed police or anyone in the area. It's really as reckless as we've seen. Now, investigatively, the team led by Chief Levon Holly, and our Midtown South squads and our homicide squads used an entire task force of detectives and initiated all of our investigative techniques, namely video collection, canvases, forensics, evidence processing, ballistic recovery and comparisons, witness interviews. We literally spoke to hundreds of individuals. We obtained what we can be described as pristine photos of our subjects. Now, those photos ultimately lead to the identification of our shooter, Jesus Alejandro Rivas Figueroa, a 15-year-old male, born April 19th of 2008. Now, once we obtain this information, the investigation leads us out to Yonkers, 106 Saratoga Avenue, where Jesus was successfully apprehended without any incident at all.
And here is the mother of the alleged criminal crying for him. Let's listen. My love, she's saying. My love, and she's crying. She's crying and she's saying it's painful, I guess, meaning inside, it's painful. She's saying, oh my baby. Oh my baby. And he's crying. The alleged criminal is crying. Wow. Wow. 3-word fix. Get them out. Get them all out. Because the good ones have mixed with the bad ones. You know, the good ones that this activist is always talking about? That's right, he's an activist. He's not a journalist. And he's always referring to them as, most of them are really, really fantastic people. And it's just the bare minimum that's bad. But we shouldn't really worry about them because it's just a very small number. Wrong. The good ones and the bad ones are completely mixed and you don't know who is who anymore. The vetting system is not being followed accordingly. You just walk in and you say, I'm scared for my life. No problem. Here's your NTA notice. See you later in 5 to 10 years. Who cares? We're probably not going to see you again. No criminal background check. And that's your result right there. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. Get them all out. And then you can proceed with the proper vetting system. This way, we don't have a mixture in a complete nightmare on our hands. What a disgrace. Let me know what you think in the comment section below.